Hello, my dearest friends. Welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt, and a very happy new year to everyone. I hope 2025 brings you all of the things that you are longing for, all of the things that you're working towards, and that you have your goals set for you and all of your New Year's resolutions so that 2025 can be one of the best years ahead. I'm going to be having a lot of fun already starting from this month. I'm going to clue you in on what's going to be happening, so you're kind of prepared of what you can look forward to on my channel for January, because it's going to be a bit different than what I usually have, even though I'm not the most organized. Like, I don't post on fixed dates, but typically I try to come up with 1 or 2 videos per week. And I can already confirm that for January, it's going to be only 1 video per week, because I'm going to be traveling this month for a vacation, a very well-awaited vacation with my family. So I'm not going to be able to post more than 1 video per week, at least until the 25th or so. So I'm going to do today my December wrap-up. I'm going to tell you about the books that I read in the month of December. And then next week, you're going to see, I think, a recommendation video from me. I'm going to see what I can plan out so that I can schedule it to release once I'm away. And I'm going to be going to a faraway land, somewhere that I've been wanting to explore. We're going to Abu Dhabi and Dubai, so to the United Arab Emirates, and I'm very much looking forward to it, because where I'm from, it's quite cold right now, and in the Emirates, it's quite warm at the moment, which is a very welcome change for us, because we've been going through the flu here, as everyone is well aware, during the winter time. That is what happens, especially when you have kids. And we're just looking forward to some family time, to some fun times. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be vlogging, but maybe I'm going to try to do something. I'm going to wait out and see, and then you may see a vlog or not. Once I come back, we're going to see. And then, yeah, I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up today, where I actually read 18 books in the month of December, and I didn't do a recent reads video in the middle of December. So I'm going to talk about only the books that I think are worth talking about. This is bad to say, but like books that either left an impression on me, books that were 4 or 5-star reads for me, or that I just had something to say about. Because I did read a couple of novellas and a couple of Christmas romances that were quite reminiscent of other books that I read that I already discussed in my Christmas recommendation video. So those I'm just not going to mention. I'm just going to go ahead and talk about 10 books that I read in December. And I had a lot of interesting and quite compelling books, so please stick around to see which ones I read. I started off the month with an adventure-filled and quite funny, but also quite emotional on the same side, kind of a read. The book is called The Jewel of the Isle by Carrie Ray. This book features a heroine who has lost someone close to her. She has lost her father, and he had this bucket list of going to these national parks before he passed away, and he didn't get to see those national parks. So she decided to cross off those national parks and scatter his ashes, I think. And she's not the most outdoorsy person, so she's not the kind of person who would willingly want to go to a national park, but she is set on just completing this task for her father. So what she decides to do is book a trip where she's going to be going with her boyfriend, but unfortunately her boyfriend breaks up with her just before the trip. He has met someone else, so she is kind of in a bind of how is she supposed to go somewhere where she doesn't know how she's going to survive in the outdoors. So she decides to hire someone to help her through the trek, through the hikes that she will need to go through. And the hero is the guy whom she hires to help her out. The problem with the hero is that he's part of this company that was started by his family when it comes to hiking and exploring the outdoors, but he actually hasn't been one of the guides. There are certain kinds of circumstances that I don't want to spoil for you, but essentially both of them go on this hike, this huge trek, and both of them are complete idiots in the wild. So this is where the fun element within the book comes in, because they do a couple of things and they encounter a couple of things within their hike that are just hilarious. And at the same time, we do find out that both the hero and heroine are grieving and have some emotional circumstances that they both need to work through. And there is also a suspenseful kind of a scenario in the book, because there is this hunt for a treasure and some, let me put it like that, running from someone who is trying to steal a precious thing. I'm not going to say too much, but essentially there is this kind of Indiana Jones kind of a plot line within this book that is quite fun. And yeah, I really did have fun with this book. I give it 3.5 stars because the romance did take a back seat within this romance book. So essentially we were more following like their adventure and the suspensefully filled situation and their shenanigans. We do get a little bit of chemistry between them, but not a lot, and that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. But I really did genuinely have a lot of fun with this book. Next up, I read 2 very popular romantasy books that came out this year, and I'm very happy that I did because both of them were real hits for me. The first one that I finished is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This one I actually bought through the Audible sale on Audible, and I'm very happy that I bought the audiobook for it because it is absolutely fantastic. And I'm very happy that I read this book because it really did give me those Caraval vibes that everyone is raving about. So everyone is saying that this is something between Caraval and Throne of the Fallen or Throne of Secrets by Kerry Maniscalco. And I can actually see why the comparison is being made. Essentially, this book centers on our heroine Ophelia, who is a necromancer. And she has recently lost her mother, who also was a necromancer, and she essentially has inherited her abilities and also her business, also her house, and also her debt. So essentially, her mother has left her with a lot of debt, and she and her sister, they're kind of trying to figure out how they're going to be keeping their home. And what happens is that her younger sister decides to enroll herself into this competition called Phantasma that happens once in a certain amount of time. And she does it in secret. So Ophelia doesn't know that she has entered into the competition. But when she finds out, she last minute enrolls herself into the competition as well, because she's quite afraid that her sister will not come out alive out of this competition, because it's quite a dangerous competition. This competition involves trials, involves kind of a lot of atmospheric kind of situations that I really loved. By the way, this book is centered in New Orleans, which I absolutely loved because it's quite atmospheric. And the hero within the book is an unlikely hero. He is part of Phantasma and he is a phantom. His name is Blackwell, and he has his own agenda when it comes to what he's doing during Phantasma. He decides that he's going to try to help out Ophelia for his own gain. And I don't know, it was just so compelling. I kept on wanting to read and to see what kind of trials are going to come up and what Blackwell's deal is within the whole scenario. Like, what is he trying to get out of the situation and what is his story essentially? And I really loved also the fact that the heroine is a necromancer, someone who has this specific kind of power that I haven't really read about before in other fantasy books that I've read. Not that I've read many, but this one really just was special to me because it was my first one. So I really enjoyed this one and I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book that I read is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is the first romantasy book by Callie Hart, and I think she has done such a splendid job. I really loved this book. I gave this one 5 stars, I can already tell you, because I just had so much fun with it, and I felt the kind of tension and the angst when it came to both the situation that the hero and heroine are in, as well as the romantic tension between both of them. So I really, really love this book. The book centers on our heroine Ceres, who is living in this society where they're kind of put into castes. We've got the queen who lives in this wealthy area, and then she lives in this horrible area where there is a drought, there is no water. She really needs to come up with all kinds of ways to try to survive and also help her brother out. And Essentially, what happens at the start of the book is she steals something that is quite precious. She gets caught and she gets brought to the queen, where she is beaten very badly. And essentially, she is going to be dying soon. But then our hero, Kingfisher, comes up magically through another realm to save her, because she is someone who has special abilities. She is actually an alchemist, someone who can forge this entity, Quicksilver, and help the people in the other realm. I'm not going to say who they are, with a battle of their own. So in this parallel realm, there is a war going on, and she is the key to them being able to compete against evil, essentially. So I hope that I did at the start of the plot justice, but essentially this is how the story starts. And then we get a lot of found family aspects. We get a lot of banter between the hero and heroine. We get quite a good world building, where we're seeing what is going on in one part of the realm, and then in the other kind of parallel situation, we see what is going on. And there is some kind of action-filled situation in the end that kind of picks up the pace of the book that I really enjoyed. And I just have no complaints about this book. I honestly had so much fun with it, and I really cannot wait to see what is going to happen in book 2. The ending of this book was well done, in my opinion. I really was looking forward to see how the heroine is going to get out of the situation that she was put into, and it was just really well done, in my opinion. So I really enjoyed this one, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I picked up is the second and last book within a duology by Isabel Ibanez. It's called Where the Library Hides. This one, I cannot go into the plot of this book because it's the second book that follows up the first one, and I really enjoyed the first book. I gave that one 4 stars. And this one is essentially, it's kind of an adventure-filled, also suspenseful, kind of a historical fantasy book. And it has a side plot of romance and betrayal. And it's set in Egypt. It's set during a time where women are very much dependent on men, and our heroine essentially is going to Egypt to find out what has happened to her parents. This is in the first book, and then in the second book, things progress from all the findings and all the things that she has gone through. And the thing is that this one, I think, wraps up everything so well, and all the relationships that were built, and like the whodunit part of the suspense is quite intriguing. And similarly to the first book, I was really compelled to continue with the book and to finish it to see what exactly was going on. And I really liked the writing style of this author as well, and the romance was quite well done. So I really enjoyed it, and I gave this one 4 stars as well. Now, the next one was not really on my radar, but I saw that I had the audiobook available to me, and when I read the synopsis for it, I was like, I think I may like this book, so I'm just going to pick it up and see how it goes. The book is called P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. This one is an interesting kind of book, again centers on a heroine who is grieving. She has lost her brother to cancer, and her brother's last dying wish was that she scatter his ashes in different locations. So in locations where he didn't get to visit, didn't get to travel to, and she needs to do that with his best friend, someone with whom she has a history, someone whom she hates. So it's quite a difficult thing for her to come to terms with, because she doesn't want to do it with him. She wants to do it on her own, but essentially that's his last dying wish, so she needs to respect it. And the hero in this book is the brother's best friend, who essentially broke the heroine's heart when they were younger. He had his reasons for it, and now he's trying to, first of all, honor his best friend's wishes, and second of all, kind of try to break down her barriers and try to explain that things have changed, that they have both changed, and that they just need to move past whatever has happened. And both of them are grieving, both of them go through these trips and these emotions. And I don't know, I just really connected with this book. I think that the grief of the whole situation is kind of handled with a very realistic mindset, because in a lot of books where grief is discussed. It's quite emotional. You get to see that people break down, that you don't know a way out, and that you're frustrated and angry and everything. But in this one, you really felt the frustration and the anger a lot. You felt like the heroine was petty and that she was kind of unreasonable and that she wasn't making very sound decisions at times. And really, that is because she is just so consumed by grief that she does not know another way to really be and to react. So I really felt that that is quite realistic when it comes to the way that I've handled grief in the past. I know that you can just be completely shut off and that you don't want to hear anyone else's thoughts on how you should move on and how you should be behaving and what you should be doing, etc. And I can completely understand where this heroine was coming from, and I can understand that probably this book is not going to be for everyone because, first of all, it's quite heavy when it comes to the plot line. But also the heroine is not the most likable kind of heroine, so I can imagine that this book is not going to be liked by everyone, but I just related to it, so I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. Now, the next book I read is my first Sarah Kate book. My first Sarah Kate book is her latest release, so I didn't read any of the Sex Club books that she has. I read Keep Me, which is a book that centers on a heroine who is from the States, but she is on a trip with her boyfriend in Scotland. They're driving around with their car and they come about this mansion where they read somewhere that there is this very archaic kind of a typewriter that is tied to their family traditions or family history somehow. So the heroine decides on a whim to break into this mansion to try to see if she can find this typewriter. And obviously someone lives there. And she is breaking and entering, and the kind of meet cute between herself and the actual hero in the book is when she breaks and enters into his home. Obviously, she doesn't stay together with her boyfriend. Something happens between them, and then something ludicrous happens, like a ludicrous plot twist in which the hero and heroine end up married in a marriage of convenience. So when it comes to how the story started, it was quite unbelievable to me. So I didn't really relate to how the story started. Also, the heroine was quite spoiled and quite, I don't know, just lacking any kind of purpose or goal when it's quite clear that she's not 19 or 20, right? So you kind of expect her to have figured at least something out when it comes to what she's doing with her life. But yeah, I didn't really relate to her when it comes to her life goals. So I don't know, the start of this book really was something that kept me from really enjoying this book to the fullest. But at the same time, once the plot picked up after the 50% mark, so they've already been married, they have both this kind of a deadline looming over their heads. At the same time, they're spending time together. They're starting to warm up to each other. There's a lot of spicy times. And I just started to warm up to them as well as a couple. And I don't know, by the end of it, I did enjoy it. I did give it 3.5 stars, and I'm willing to pick up other books by Sarah Kate because I can definitely see the appeal to the way that she writes. It's just that the way that this plot line got started, it just did not work for me. So the premise of this was not my favorite. But when it comes to the writing and to the potential, when it comes to the stories by Sarah Kate, I can definitely see the appeal. Now, with the next book, I had so much fun because I picked this up just before Christmas, and it was the right time for this kind of a book. And I really highly recommend it if you want to pick it up around Christmas time next year. The book is called The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's by Sarah Rash. This book centers on the Prince of Christmas, who is in big time trouble because he did something that he was not supposed to do. And he kind of needs to prove himself again to his father, to his court, to his people. And he has a lot of pressure and expectations put on him because he will be taking over as Santa at some point. And one of the things that is expected of him is to court and marry the Princess of Easter. And he's not going to be the only suitor of the Princess of Easter. Also, the Prince of Halloween is going to be a suitor as well. So just before Christmas, they have these gatherings and these meetings and these kinds of activities that they participate in the Christmas court. So it's very Christmassy when it comes to that. But the thing is that the romance is not between the Prince of Christmas and the Princess of Easter. It's between the two princes. So between the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween. Both of them are bisexual, and I think that the representation and the overall care with which the relationship aspect within the book is handled is quite well done. Also, the political aspects within the book, if you will, were quite well done as well. It was quite an intriguing plot. And there was so much fun banter. There were so many fun activities and just a lot of laughs, but also some serious points within the book that I really loved. And I just loved this book. I ate it up. The audiobook is splendid, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. Now, I read 2 more Christmas books around Christmas that are worth mentioning for one reason or another. I'm going to mention them really quickly. The first one being The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Lees. I love Chloe Lees. All the books that I've read by this author have been 4 or 5-star reads for me, so I really wanted to pick up this short novella, Christmassy novella by this author. The book centers on 2 employees who both of them work for the same bookshop. But essentially, the bookshop is not doing very well financially, and the owners decide that they only can keep one of them, where they give them the task to try to come up with a way to save the shop by Christmas time. And whoever has the best idea to save the shop will remain at the position, and the other one will be let go. So essentially, both of them are competing for one spot when it comes to their job. And the 2 of them are quite opposites. She loves Christmas, he hates Christmas. The 2 of them have this competition going on, and it's just a fun, Christmassy, a little tension filled with some rivalry going on, kind of a romance where we've got a hero who falls first. And I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 3.5 stars. The next one I wanted to mention, because it's quite a popular book this year, is The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. This author blew up because of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and now also the Christmas Tree Farm and the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, I think. I skipped that one. I moved on to this one because I wanted to read the Christmassy romance around Christmas. And I can see the appeal to this kind of writing with a small town, with the nosy kind of small town shenanigans, with the fun, cutesy vibes, but spicy times as well. I understand why it's so hyped. I wouldn't say that this kind of a TikTok formula of type of writing where all kind of hyped right now tropes are being put into one book so that it's very TikTokable, if you will, if that is the thing that works best for me. But I did enjoy this book. I gave it 3 to 3.5 stars. The book centers on a heroine who is a black cat. She has some kind of an inheritance, and she decides to buy this Christmas tree farm in the small town where we have these people who are quite meddling. They want everyone to participate in this Christmassy kind of vibe, while the heroine does not want to do that. And the hero is the brother of one of the heroines of the previous books. He is there for only a month to work remotely and just kind of visit with his sister. And he has a dog, and he walks his dog on the Christmas tree farm, and they bump into each other. He is kind of a golden retriever. She's a black cat, so they are kind of opposites. And he gets roped into kind of trying to bring her out of the shell and to kind of participate more with the Christmassy activities in the small town. And that's how they come to spend more time together and eventually fall in love. Again, this is the kind of book that I think I can understand why people love it, and it's a good Christmas read, but I wouldn't say that it's a favorite. Now, my last book of 2024 was quite a hit for me. I had such an interesting time with it. I read the audiobook for it, and it's my first book by M.L. Wang. This is the author of The Sword of Kaigan, a book that I own, but I have not yet read, but I did purchase the audiobook for it as well, so I'm going to be reading the audiobook in 2025, mark my words, because the book that I read by this author is called Blood Over Bright Haven, that I really was intrigued by, and I actually really, really liked. The book centers on a heroine. Her name is Siona. She is an orphan, and she lives in a kind of a magical city where mages are the highest ranked kind of people within their city. And the magic that they perform comes at a cost, but nobody exactly knows what exactly this cost is. The thing is that women are not really allowed to be mages unless once in 10 years there is this kind of a trial where they're allowed to try out. But they're not really given a fair shot always to participate in these trials in a fair way. So you don't really have any female mages. All of the mages are men. And her sole purpose is to become a high mage. She wants to become a high mage and make a difference for women when it comes to magic. So she has been training her whole life for this trial. The trial is coming up, and she blows everyone away with the way that she is siphoning her magic, with the way that she is mapping, and all of the things that are required from her. So she becomes a high, or at least she becomes a mage, not a high mage, but a mage. And when she becomes a mage, she starts to find things out that other people either don't know or have been hiding. And this is where the plot gets interesting. She gets assigned this assistant who is thought to be of a kind of people who are not the smartest. They're kind of perceived as the lower ranks of the community, but she doesn't really underestimate him. She sees that he's quite bright, and they start to form this connection of pupil and teacher, and the two of them decide that they need to make a difference within their society. And this is where I'm going to leave it. The story goes on from there. I don't want to make it too obvious of what is going to happen. I don't want to spoil anything for you. So yeah, from that point, I was really intrigued. I wanted to know, like, what is the end game here? What exactly has happened with this magic? Where did it come from? It was quite interesting to read about. And yeah, I was really intrigued up until the end. And the end was really, really, really intriguing. I mean, it doesn't end in the most conventional kind of a way, and I like that about this book, and I would definitely recommend it. I gave this one 4 stars. So my friends, this wraps up the books that I read in the month of December. I had such a splendid month, the last month of the year, and I just hope that in the new year I can find other compelling books that I'm loving and that I can recommend to you as well. Let me know what you've been reading lately. Let me know what you've been loving lately. And I hope to see you in the next one. Please don't forget to subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care and bye-bye.